Hey Egg, I'm Yokness. I'm a mask practitioner, and I have been for over 10 years, and a musical artist. Would you like to make a mask? I have been asked so many times, hey, how do you make your mask? And if you would like to know, well, today you're in luck! So today I'm going to teach you how to make your own mask. This video is going to be the first in a little series I'm going to do, teaching you how to make different styles of masks, Egg, starting with the crude mask style. I used this method on my first 3 masks. It's really easy to do and it's really accessible. In fact, I got everything I needed from the dollar store. So what's stopping ya? So one of the things I really love about this mask style in particular is it's really raw. To me, it's just kind of like free and wild. And if something happens to it, it's not the end of the world because it was so easy to make. So let me show you what you'll need to make your mask. You'll need some brushes that you don't care about getting ruined because they're going to be used for glue. So I got these ones, and I do care about them. Look how fun they are. But I got these from the dollar store. These were $1.25. You're going to need some throwaway cups, preferably paper versus plastic. This is going to be holding glue. I have this left over. I just figured maybe it'd be better for glue, but the bristles are so they'd come off really easy, so I don't know if I really want that. But I have it here just in case. You'll need some newspaper, which is actually kind of hard to come by, surprisingly. I didn't find it until I went to CVS, but then even then I had to ask for it, and this was like one of 2 left. You're gonna need some balloons. Preferably get more than one in case you mess up. I got all of these for $1.25. And they have confetti. Of course I had to get them. I'm going to be using actual confetti in my mask design today. So I have my confetti. I got these from the dollar store too. They were $1.25 each. And we have our... I really love the geometric shape of this. You know, it's not just ribbon. It's kind of like polygonal. And this color is really what I'm going for. So I got this to add to the mask. And this I also got for embellishments. To glue onto the mask as design. You're gonna need Elmer's glue. Is that it? Oh yeah, you're gonna need some rope or something because you're gonna need to tie your balloon up upside down to dry. What else? Is that really it? Is it really that simple? It is. I'm gonna add some things to the mask once it's done and I'll show you. I'm gonna be using probably some metal wire that you can get at a dollar store as well. I'm gonna be using, these are just some things I already have. I'm also gonna be lining the inside with beeswax and velvet. So let's go ahead and prep the materials. By the way, if you're interested in seeing the mask design, head over to my Patreon. A lot of thought and heart went into this new mask design, so check it out if you want to. And if you're interested in other mask related content, I'm doing a mask series on my Patreon right now about the history of my masks and myself as a mask practitioner and musician. So the crude mask style is basically paper mache on top of a balloon. And then you cover like half of the balloon. And what happens is as the paper mache starts to dry, it starts to shrink and it starts to curl. And eventually it'll pop the balloon by itself. And then voila, your mask will just fall to the ground and you'll have the shell of the mask. Then you take that and you cut it and you sand it and you seal it and you do whatever you want to do to it. And then you have your new mask. It's going to be awesome. So all the materials all together were about a little under $10. From the dollar store. How about that? But how are you, Egg? What's going on with you? By the way, I would love to see your mask designs. Or if you have any questions about mask designs or wearing your mask or anything, let me know. Leave a comment, okay? And please feel free to join our Eggy Discord. I'm going to use this bucket to put my paper shreds in. And you don't even need to do anything fancy. Just shred them like this. You don't want to do them too long because your mask around the balloon is going to be kind of curved. It's good to have a variety of pieces because you never know what sections will call for what. Also, isn't this kind of cozy? At first, I was a little bit like, oh no! I'm getting started on this video so late in the day. But actually now I think it's kind of a vibe. Wouldn't you say? The key here when making a crude mask too, don't make it so heavy. You might be tempted to really layer on the glue to make it kind of heavy, but you really don't want to do that. You want to keep your mask as light as possible because if you're adding anything else to it, like paint or any type of sealant on top of it, all of that adds up really fast. Like, this mask is super heavy. So I'm going to keep this mask as lightweight as possible. I want to forget that it's on. You know what I mean? So I'm probably going to layer my mask maybe 3 times, 2 to 3 times, and then see how that feels. See if it's, because you don't want it to be too thin either, because then it'll shrivel and curl to an unusable degree, but it'll also it'll break easier. So you'll find your happy medium. Sometimes it's best when you're ballooning to make more than one balloon. Like, do it a couple times. So if you mess up on your first one, you have a couple of options left. Something that's really cool about making these crude mask styles out of newspaper too is, so this is a current newspaper. I mean, I think it's like 2 days old. So it's pretty new, right? And these are words. These are words and stories and news of the times. And we live in crazy times right now. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of mystical to me to have these words woven together to create the base of your mask. It's a timepiece in that sense. And what a cool heirloom to have too, to pass down to your kids or your family, if we all make it until then. So all of it is shredded by hand, shredded with love. The thing that's good about shredding versus cutting, I think too, now this is just something I'm absolutely making up, but I have a feeling, you see these tiny fibers when you rip it by hand, I feel like that makes a better blend when you're paper macheing. Again, I just made that up, but it's just my feeling. So now that we're done with that, gonna blow up a balloon, gonna prep the glue. We're good to get started. Egg. Check this out. So here's the balloon. This is the kind of size you want, or at least I want, because I want a more round shape. And again, remember, it's gonna shrink. So go a little bit bigger, anticipation of it curling and shrinking a little bit. So this is gonna be perfect. I'm going to start the mask. If this is the side view, I'm going to paper mache it like half. I'm going to do more than I need. That way I can cut it back. So we got that. I have my glue, my just Elmer's. I have a cup of little warm water. I hope this can hold it. I didn't really think about that. Oh no, there's a hair in here. Hello. Being all nasty in my business. We're ready to do this. So it's gonna get a little splishy splashy. You're gonna wanna have some sort of tray available to catch all the water and glue. Believe me. So I'm gonna be using my handy dandy little tray. Got my glue, got my water if needed. Perfect. You get your little glue situation, right? I'm gonna place it down first. Just wherever, you know. It really doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm gonna glue on top of that.
Live, laugh, love me as a woman.
And you can also put a little bit of water on it to help wet the why are these bristles so rough? I'm afraid my bristles are actually gonna pop my balloon. So I'm gonna be a little careful on this first layer. By the way, full list of materials and instructions are gonna be written in a post on my Patreon if you want to go print it out. Okay, so a couple hours have passed. I have completed the layers. I was gonna film the first and second and third layers, but my phone ran out of battery and it died. So I'm so sorry, but here's where we're at now. So you're definitely gonna want to cut longer strips like this than anything. Like, you don't want to do this. These are not helpful. It's all about these. You want to do this. So now I'm just kind of looking around and patching up places that need like the last minute touches. But if this is the bottom of the balloon, I went vertical first twice all the way around and then created the perimeter, you know, of the mask. Create a perimeter. And as you can see, then I went horizontal across a couple of times. And now I'm just spot treating. I'm just looking to see if there's any weak points, places that kind of fill it out a little bit more. Because you definitely want to try to, as much as possible, get like an even layering and as smooth as possible. Once you're done with your layers, make sure that, you know, the top is pretty glossed up with some glue, so everything is sealed properly. And a little trick that you can do is to make sure that it's kind of evenly distributed. hold your balloon in front of a lamp so it's backlit. If you see any light coming through, even just a little bit, that's where you can put some extra newspaper on top. I have made masks before where I soaked these in like a cookie sheet of water and then put it on. But the problem with that is it gets so wrinkly, you'll get those little grooves. It'll look like wrinkled clothes on here. You don't want that. Whereas if you just do what's necessary, like not too much, not too little, with glue itself, glue is stronger and you won't get as much warping. Oh, also, if for some reason you're thinking, why do I have to use a balloon? I'm just going to use a bowl or something like that. Don't do it. I tried that before. This might be very obvious to some people. Well, it wasn't to me when I first started out. You want to use a balloon in particular, not only for the shape, but because you need it to pop. You need it to go away. If you do this on top of a bowl, it's really, really hard to get off. Whereas when the balloon pops, there's nothing to get off. You just take the remnants of the balloon and you peel it off and it's perfect. So definitely don't fuck around. Get yourself a balloon, okay? I'm gonna take the bottom, I'm gonna hang it up to dry like this. I'm gonna find some string somewhere and use that. So let's go hang it up and leave it to dry overnight. I'll come back tomorrow to check on it and then cut it and paint it and carry on, okay? See you then. Okay, so it's just hanging there and it will dry overnight and then probably pop. Good night, new mask. Please don't pop too early.
So it's the next day. The mask actually didn't pop the balloon by itself, so pop! Once you pop the balloon, you'll have a little bit of the balloon left inside with the glue, so go ahead and peel that out. Wonderful! Now you have the base of your new mask. Go ahead, try it on. This is actually important to do. It's already going to have a natural way of sitting on your face that's going to inform you how you're going to want to cut it. I'm going to clean off the excess edge so I can have a better idea of its true shape so far. It's definitely best to have excess and then slowly trim it away and keep trying it on. Every cut should be very intentional, so be patient with this process. And now it's time to cut the eye holes. I'm placing my hands around the mask the way you would place hands around a face to kind of feel naturally where eyes sit, just to make my preliminary markings. The idea is to start with pinholes first, and then once you can see through them, you can better cut proper eye shape. And I mean, so far, what a peach. Now I'm using my fingers to sort of feel where the holes will be. But what I'm actually doing is looking at the light and using my fingers to create shadows on the outside of the mask so I can better see and feel from the inside to the outside where my eyes are. Tapping in front of your eyes through the mask actually helps too. After choosing where the eye hole location is going to be, I'm going to use a straight stick thing, whatever it's called, to create them beady little papers. Full list of the tools I use will be on my Patreon for free if you want to check it out. But anything will do. Like, you could also use a safety pin, I imagine. Also, a list of tips for each section of the mask creation will be available on the Patreon too. Well, aren't they darling? I'm gonna make more serious cuts now, and I've identified that the chin is a little too long, so I'm just gonna draw a very general, natural line of how the chin should be shaped. I think a crude mask creation is a perfect exercise in getting over perfectionism, because like faces, masks have more personality when they're not perfect. This is a great place for the chin to sit, but can you open your jaw? And how much of your chin and your jaw do you want to be seen when you're talking from underneath the mask? The length of your mask also determines how easy it'll be for people to understand you when you're speaking. Make sure to take note of that eye feel, because the farther apart the eye holes are, the harder it'll be for your eyes to feel natural. This mask is feeling really great so far. At this point, you might start to feel a personality emerging from your mask. If you're interested in seeing how the design of this mask came together, click on the link in the description of this video to see it on my Patreon for free. Spray paint time, make sure you're ventilated. Do really light layers with a few minutes of drying time in between each coat. I'm envisioning a John Deere yellow from Rust-Oleum on this project. Darn tootin'. Ew, a scuff happened. And somehow I missed. I'm gonna buff the scuff and then repaint. I'm just using a little sandpaper, which isn't super effective on this spray paint, but that's the great thing about a crude mask. Who cares? So strictly speaking, your crude mask could be completed at this point. You could throw some string on it and then ta-da, you got a wearable new crude mask. The techniques used up until now was actually how I completed my first mask. For this new mask I'm making, however, I do want to apply some more advanced techniques, I've decided. So if you're interested in that, let's continue on. With the mask painted, it's time to seal it on the inside with local beeswax. I should have mentioned this earlier, but don't spray paint the inside of your mask. Get a throwaway nonstick pot and slowly, on low to medium heat, melt your beeswax. Don't worry, this beeswax business is super simple. Once it's melted, just take your natural haired brush and evenly coat coat the inside of your mask. Make sure to cover the edges well. As you can see, I made the mistake of spray painting the inside of the mask. Make sure not to do that. Adding the beeswax will add weight to your mask, so as you're layering, just keep in mind how heavy you want your mask to be. The beeswax will dry pretty quickly, so I'm going to take this opportunity to uncurl my mask and make it a little more flat. Now that the beeswax is dry, it's time to install the wire that we'll use to wear our mask. Where you place the wire is really crucial to how the mask will sit on your face. If you want your mask to curl around your face, it's best to have the wire situated a little closer to the edge of your mask. If you want your mask to be more not bent, in the case of my mask being flat and round, I'm going to position the wire closer to the eyes. While wearing the mask, use your thumbs as a guide to know how far away from your eyes you need to put the wiring. Once more, I'm using the pokey sticky tool to create the holes for where the wire should go. Next, I'm going to be scoring locations for where I could put the cork bracer so the mask sits a little bit farther from my face. I'll be using the same natural cork that I used on my primary mask. It's natural, it's non-toxic, and it's naturally water resistant. Make sure to scratch up the surface of where you're going to glue it so it has a better chance of adhering, and then I'm testing to see how it feels, because how the bracers feel on your face is the most crucial element of installing them. In my experience, the best locations for bracers are the forehead and the cheekbones, just to give your mask enough space off of your face to breathe and for comfort. Otherwise, the mask is just going to be right up against your face and it feels unpleasant. With any adhesive you're using in your mask, make sure to use a non-toxic adhesive as much as possible. I will leave my recommendation here. This is the glue I use for all my masks, if not Elmer's glue. Glue each side of the two surfaces you'll be joining together, and then you're going to let that sit for a minute. Once that minute is up, lightly press it in the locations that you have scored and then test it out. Put it back to your face and see if it really feels comfortable, if it's what you want to commit to, but don't be afraid to move the bracers around because they haven't cured yet. Once it feels right, use a cloth of some kind, maybe cardboard, to brace it on either side and then clamp it down. The cure time for this glue is an hour, so after an hour, it's ready to go. I don't want the wire pulling through the mask, so I'm going to fortify the ports by adding leftover pieces of the mask base and gluing them in between the holes for the wires where the wire will lay. These points will bear the whole weight of the mask once it's on. I'm going to use just run-of-the-mill red velvet on the inside. Go for cotton and avoid polyester. Using a paper towel, I'm going to trace out the edge of the mask 1/2 at a time and trace the eye holes as well as the bracers. When tracing, actually draw a little bit outside of the mask. Don't be perfect and right on the edge because you want to have excess. Make sure to mark each side as right and left. And now for the left side. Once your outlines are drawn, go ahead and cut them out of the paper towel. Even as you cut generously on the outside of the line. Fit test, so cute. Well, I super goofed on tracing the bracer because I was tracing the bottom of the bracer, but you're only supposed to trace the top surface area of the bracer to make your cut. I'll be sure to correct that on the blueprint for the other side. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to trace just the top of the bracer, but even then trace on the inside with generous space away from the edge. See, so much better. And by cutting diagonally out of the opening for the bracer in the corners, you can create a nice snug fit. Do this for the other side as well, and then it's time to cut out our velvet. Use at least 2 points in pinning your paper towel to the velvet. I actually messed up here. You want your paper towel and velvet to be facing upwards. With your paper towel pinned, cut out the velvet and test it to make sure that it fits nice and snug. Somehow, even though I had the sides inverted, it still worked out. So I'm going to be using Elmer's glue for this and a natural brush. Use a non-toxic glue to create an even spread. Apply the glue and install the velvet only 1/2 at a time and make sure to get the edges nice and saturated. No, right, it's go time, baby. When laying the velvet down, I start with the bracer first and then just as evenly as possible smooth out the velvet. At this stage, the velvet can still be moved around. The glue, of course, hasn't cured, so don't be too worried about it. Just do what you gotta do. Just make sure to cover the edges, and I would say be mindful that you're not getting glue fingers on the top of the velvet. Once you feel good about the velvet placement, use your fingers to smooth out every surface of the velvet a couple of times so the velvet makes full contact with the glue and the mask. Ta-da! The separation in the center is to be expected, but I guess to avoid it, you could just cut hella excess on the inseam when cutting the velvet. Otherwise, cut yourself a third piece of velvet and lay it down. I'm going to be cutting off some excess here on the 2 halves just to make room for that third piece. I use Elmer's glue again here, but I really should have been using my non-toxic super glue, so learn from my mistake. Well, whichever glue you do use, just make sure to brush it in real good. We're gonna let this whole thing set for 35 minutes. It's time to clean up the velvet edges. I would use the sharpest, finest scissors you have. And once that's done, seal the edge of both the mask and the velvet with some Elmer's. And I'm just using my finger to kind of just smush it in. It takes a lot of technique, okay? I cut X's into the eye with an X-Acto blade and then just cut the quarters out. But bing bada boom! My, what a fine mask we have so far. Luxurious. However, the Elmer's glue did not hold up for that centerpiece, so using just some Gorilla Glue, hot glue, and take it down. So learn from my mistakes, yeah? Having the hot glue out though gave me an idea. So for the designs and markings on the mask, I'm gonna make them 3D with hot glue. So I'm using some pencil and then a highlighter to just draw out where I'm going to use the hot glue. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, you could use colored glue or hot glue to do the same thing. But you know what? This is gonna do just fine. It came out so cool. I'm also gonna use this technique to fill out the eye design with the little lashes. So cute and joopy. So goopy. Next is fitting the wire to the wire holes and creating the little eyelets with which we will wear the mask. Pre-poke all the holes all the way through the velvet with a bobby pin or safety pin or needle. I pre-bent the wires with pliers. Oh my god, the rhymes. And I threaded them through the holes we pre-poked. Look how measured and flush it lays. Adding that fortification by the wire holes earlier is really going to save this mask in the long run, I think. Now, I really could have done this a lot better. I would advise just twisting the wire all the way down. That way your wire is doubled up and then making your eyelets. But I decided to cut half of it off, therefore weakening this wire that can snap easily. I will have to redo this wire down the road. But I really just made this bit up. Make a loop, twist it around, cut off the excess, you know? But thing to keep in mind is how thick is the ribbon or whatever you're using to thread through this, how thick do you want it to be? Because the eyelet needs to be as thick as the width of that ribbon. Or strap, basically whatever is going around your head to wear the mask. This is coming out so cute. I love it so much already. So now I'm just gonna add a little bit of hot glue to where the wire holes are to waterproof it a little bit. And to make sure the wire doesn't move around so much. Now I also fucked up here. Make sure you tape all of the fabric on the inside. Don't be silly like me. Now I can't believe I'm about to say this because John Deere yellow is my favorite yellow, but for this mask we are going more of a golden egg yolk yellow. And I spoke too soon, that was a little too orange, so I'm adding a little yellow back, and now I'm adding the confetti decorations to the cheeks, Even to the random order of confetti, there must be perfection. I have never done a solid color mask that I am going to wear. I'm just at this point in life where I want bold colors like fresh green. So far, so fucking cute. And now we create the perfect Pepto-Bismol pink tear, which may or may not be a shout out to the Modest Mouse album, Good News for People Who Love Bad News. But real talk, I feel like this mask is actually being pretty true to the design. So to kind of plan where I'm going to put the cheek dots, I'm using a bottle cap, which is super useful. I wish I had two. Once I felt pretty confident, I used a mechanical pencil to lightly trace the outline of where the circle is going to sit. Oh, I also put on part of the braces. Well, that took a lot longer than expected, but we got cheeks. Look at them. We also got brace wire. We got confetti freckles. What are we even talking about here? I love it, even though the dots actually are not where I want them. They came out a little goofy, but hey, what's a little healthy in perfection? What doesn't kill you makes you more tolerant to things that are not right. Yay, we're back outside. It's me and a moo-moo. What else is new? So it's time to seal the mask. I'm going to be using Rust-Oleum Clear Enamel, though I wish I would have used Mod Podge. Learned from my mistake, but I will be using Frosted Pearl Clear Top Coat because it's glittery and beautiful. Look at the sparkles. We are almost at the end of our journey making this mask. I'm carefully gonna peel off the spray protector and voila, it's so perfect and protected and solid. Next, I'm gonna use speckled wool yarn to create braids to tie the mask onto my head, and I'm also gonna hand create pom-poms, either with this summery eggy yellow situation or the pink speckled that I use for the party hats. I braided the wool around some rings to attach to the mask. Just tied off the ends for now. Now it's time to make the pom-poms. I sewed on the pom-poms and added some star charms and bells. They're so cute. Let me know if you want a tutorial on this as well. It is just become my favorite part of the mask. Time to put it on for the first time. I want it to sit high on the head, and I'm using these hair clips to secure it in place. This already feels so comfortable, and this yarn was a great choice because it provides enough friction to help stay on my head. Well, I gotta work on my tying technique, but there you go, Egg. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And please check out my Patreon for written instructions, for extra tips, for all the tools I used, for the total cost, and for the extra bonus video that came up before this about the entire design process of this mask. Enjoy your mask making. By the way, I would really love to see your mask designs and also the masks you make. Feel free to find me on Blue Sky, on Discord, and of course on Patreon. Bye, Egg. Thank you.